down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
Ladies and gentlemen, all sorts of ages, from little girls to big boys, girls and boys from around the world. I'm telling you, today you're going to be inspired for many reasons. First of all, either you're going to be inspired or you're going to be slapped in the face knowing that you can do anything is possible. And I had to have this young man. This is Deven Wohlwend. He is 15 years old. So he is my youngest interviewee on the Savvy Radio Show. You tuned into the Savvy Radio Show. My name is Deven VanCauwenbergh. I am super excited. ecstatic that I get to have a young dude on my show that I see stardom. And why do I say stardom? First of all, he's only 15 years old and he's real casual, laid back. But this young man at 7 years old bought his first property. What? 7? You can buy property. And now his dad is a pretty successful real estate investor, pretty savvy dude, also an educator, as well as myself. And his name is Eric. But that doesn't matter. Today, we're talking about Deven. And at 7 years old, he bought his first property. At 15, today, he has 41 units. Amazing. And at 11 years old, he wrote his first book, right? I'm an author. So, I mean, again, you guys, ladies and gentlemen, you don't understand, but he got this first book that Mr. Deven sent me, that I met him in Ohio at the Ohio RIA about 4 or 5 years ago. He wrote the book in 2018. It's called If I Can Do It, You Can Do It. That's my philosophy in life. How I started buying real estate at an age of 7. But what was really interesting was I ran into him at the Mr. Landlord conference, and he just released his second book. So let's just get this straight. 15 years old, 2 books under his belt, 41 units, and sky's the limit. And he came out with this other book, and I actually read it. Yep. And it's called The Garage, 5 Kids, 1 Dog, and Big Dreams. And which is even cooler, the foreword to this book is Mark Vincent Hansen, who is the secrets. What's that? 1
Chicken
billion
Soup for the Soul and the 1 Minute Billionaire are some of his.
Oh, and there's a ton of his other books that I have read. Anyway, so without further ado, Deven, I'm honored that you are willing to come on the Savvy Radio Show. Hey.
Well, thank you for having me on. Always a pleasure to talk to you, and always want to keep teaching the world and help make the world a better place.
So let's put you on the shock of rock here. I was speaking at the Mr. Landlord conference, right? You were in the front row, ready to go. What'd you think that I started promoting your book and you didn't even know it? What was going through your mind?
Well, you first put on the screen and said, have any of you heard of Happy Lake Lawnmowers? And of course, all of our family looked at each other like, we know that name. Wait a minute, that's from my book. And then you pulled up the picture of the garage, and what went through most of our minds was, wow, he must have really liked what he's read from my book in like the last 10 hours.
Right. Which is really cool, ladies and gentlemen. What happened was this young man walked up to me while I was hanging out with some friends and handed me the copy of the book. And I was like, okay. And that was it. He just handed it to me. Smart man, handing out the book, trying to promote himself. And that night I went to my hotel room and I read majority of the book. And I was like, the Lord told me I need to bless this kid somehow. And I'm just going to like secretly blow it up in my presentation. So what I did was, there's a story in the book about the Lakeside Lawn Mow Company, which is entrepreneur endeavor that he started. And this book is phenomenal. And I just started off with that, see if anyone would know. Only he would know in the room. And I wanted to impact your life in some way. And then I made someone buy the book right in front of you. Did you like that too? Did you like that aggressive? I'm like, so anyway, so that's how Deven and I met just not recently, a couple months ago at the Mr. Landlord conference. Definitely recommend it. Need to go, and also go to the Ohio RIA. If you really want to get involved around successful people, in November. They're usually the first week in November. You can go to the Ohio RIA convention. His dad is there. His dad runs the place. It's a phenomenal opportunity, and I've met wonderful people there, and it's homage to my heart. So let's get into this. 7 years old. How's this even possible? It's almost too good to be true. How in the world did you buy real estate at 7 years old? Did your dad help you? Obviously, but how? And how did this process happen?
He helped teach me, of course, because he had been doing this for quite a few years, and owned a bit of real estate. But a lot of people ask, well, did your daddy give you the money or something? No. In fact, how I got the money for my first deal is, well, first I found a deal that gave me a lot of equity. Specifically, it was an $80,000 house at the time, and I had a contract on it for $50,000.
How'd you find it?
Yeah, that was a little bit easier back 8 years ago, but still possible still possible. I then used that equity to convince a family office hedge fund to loan me the money to buy the house because they really couldn't lose on that deal.
Did they loan you $50,000?
$49,000. I had to come up with a grand that I made working at a part-time job.
For closing costs?
For the down payment.
Okay. Was it an owner financed, or was it was an acquisition? Like you had a title company and it was closed and
yeah, I had a title company. The hedge fund was just loaning on the property. I actually bought the property from somebody else.
Okay, so how did you find this property originally? You don't have a car, you have a bicycle. How did you find this deal?
At that point in time, I'm not sure if I had a bicycle. But no, I think I was riding in the back seat of my mom's car, I'm guessing. We were driving down a road to head somewhere, and I saw a sign for sale.
Like a FSBO, for sale by owner?
Something like that. That was over half a lifetime ago, so I don't remember all the details.
All right. So you got this house on a contract. Did your dad walk you through this process? I'm assuming he kind of helped you a little bit.
Yes, he probably helped me explaining how do I fill out an offer, how do I talk to people, etc.
Did the homeowner that sold you the property, did they know that you were 7 years old?
Yes, I believe so. I'm
right.
the one who is signing the closing documents,
So you bought it for 50, it's worth 80. And what do you rent it out for?
I would have to check my balance sheet, but I think it's around $1,100 or $1,200 a month as of right now. It was less than.
Now, have you owned this property for what?
8 years.
8 years. What's it been like owning this property? What headaches, concerns? What have you learned so far?
What have I learned? I guess vet tenants properly.
Have you had
it really taught me a lot about. Say that again.
Have you had any issues with tenants?
I've had a couple of bad tenants, but so does everybody.
No, that's cool. Here's the deal, bro. There's no perfect answer here. Just be authentic as possible. People are just fascinated. There's some people that are listening to the show that never even done a deal. Okay. And there's some people that have done a deal, hundreds of deals, and they're just looking for something to identify with you that they could learn and grow from. So yeah, we all have had bad tenants. What stuck out to you in a learning lesson that you would not do again? Or what struck a chord in your, obviously your dad owns houses, so you've seen a lot of pain and anguish with bad tenants, unruly people, but like what you firsthand have experienced that you can remember.
Well, let's go with plan for the future.
Okay.
There's two good examples with just this house. The first one was I got a 9-year loan on the house, which was partially planned by my dad, because now it'll be paid off when I'm 16. Okay. Perfect time for when I might want to buy some new, slightly more expensive thing, like maybe a car.
Okay. So he pushed you to that type of loan so you would pay it off. So you probably haven't made any money during the process. Your mortgage payment
Yeah.
Well, 50,000 is probably, well, you made money at $1,100. I mean, I'm assuming your mortgage payment is like
Yeah.
$600-700, maybe 800.
I'd have to look up the exact numbers, but something like that.
Okay. So you got this under your belt at 7 years old. Were you nervous?
A little bit, but I had been playing the game Cash Flow by Robert Kiyosaki. So it was just playing that game, but in real life.
Right. Now you have some siblings. What was it like? You're the oldest of your brothers and sisters, right?
I'm the oldest out of me and my brother.
Oh, so it's just two of you. That's right. What am I thinking? Your mom's so young. It's like, I thought she was your sister for a minute there. So you have a younger brother. How old is he?
He is 12 years old currently.
So 3 years younger than you. So he kind of watched you through this process. Is he in real estate as well?
Yes.
Does he have
I was going to say he owns 38 units, I believe.
All right. So let's get to from 41 units from this one unit. What's the next acquisition did you do after this, and how far or how long did it take?
The next one, my next acquisition was maybe a couple months later. And it was a mobile home.
Cool.
Because while this house was getting paid down very quickly, it was not making as much money, especially at the time. So I bought a mobile home incredibly cheap that gave me a lot more cash flow, that helped me, especially if a tenant wasn't living there, living in one of them. Because if you own one house and the tenant moves out, you go from 100% vacancy to 0%.
Mm-hmm.
But say you make your way up to 10 units, one person moves out, then you only drop to 90% vacancy from 100.
Got it. The goal is to get as many units as possible so you can spread that risk. That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay. Obviously, that is a multifamily philosophy. The more, units, it's just scalability. Your costs down, maintenance are down because you can have one maintenance man there doing 3 or 4 jobs at one time instead of driving all over the place. So you got this. So the second thing was a mobile home. And so is it in a park somewhere, or is it on its own land?
Yes, it was in a park. In fact, I believe I bought it from the, mobile home park owner who owned the land and just wanted to collect the lot rent, I believe it was, and didn't want to have to deal with the extra tenants and things from owning the homes.
Right. So you helped that landlord at the time, the landowner, that he's not in the mobile home business, he's in the land business, and he really wants rent land. And then he probably acquired this mobile home. He probably has owner finance. Did he owner finance this mobile home to you, or did you pay cash out?
I believe I paid cash for this because it was very little.
Like, what's little to you? Little man.
Little would be like under $1,000.
Wow. So you paid under $1,000 for this mobile home. What kind of condition was it in?
Enough that I could fix it up and rent it out fairly quickly. I don't remember exactly what was at the time, but
okay. So you fixed this up and then you leased it out. What do you lease it out at? Vaguely.
Rent it out for a couple $100 a month. I don't know. I sold it a few years ago.
Okay, cool. So you bought it, held it, remodeled it, got a tenant in it, and then turned around and sold it a couple, 3 years later. So there's a flip right there. Okay. Mm-hmm. So moving on to the next one. Hey man, we got 39 more to go. Or did you buy an apartment building in there, a multifamily in there? What's the next one after that?
Yeah, the next one after that's a duplex. Brick duplex in a pretty good area.
How'd you finance that?
That one, I think. Can I pull up my balance sheet real quickly so I can give you information that...
Well, these are just interesting. People want to know how to finance things. People want to know the deal, the acquisition, the disposition. All these things make real estate unique and fun and never the same. It may be the same to you because you've lived and breathed it probably your whole life. I mean, I'm assuming your dad's been in it for 20 years or so, just like me. And so it's just natural to him, and it's probably natural to you. But the individual that's listening to this conversation, they're like, how did he do that? And so any perspective or any information, details, people enjoy those. So Brick Duplex.
Here's one thing I can share. When making deals, there's almost an infinite number of ways to do it.
Sure. What's your favorite strategy?
One that I do the most is I just buy a property, usually from another landlord retiring, or they just want to get rid of some of their property, and refinance it with a private lender or owner financing, or not refinance, just finance it. And then just rent it out and let the tenants pay the property down over time.
The Burr method.
Pretty much.
All right. So what inspires you
to keep buying?
Yeah. Like, why do you do this? 15-year-olds are playing freaking Fortnite right now. 15-year-olds are trying to figure out what Jordans to wear, and that $400 is a lot of money. And it is.
I've been, I guess, raised. I say this. I guess I thought maybe this could be fun. Maybe I can just have more. Maybe I can make this investment so I can use the money to buy more toys or bigger toys.
Sure.
Like I think around the time I started this, I was super into Legos. So being able to buy a handful more sets, just by doing a little bit of work now, seemed like the best thing to do, especially because otherwise I would have to work at $10 an hour, and doing a little bit extra work now, but being able to have a lot more later, that made sense to me at the time.
Right. I mean, everyone gets into real estate for some specific reason, and it's usually on a monetary reason, to live a certain lifestyle or gain certain things that they would find enjoyment. Where I'm at today, 23 years later, I never knew that things that I was able to experience or the opportunities that I have are ultimately been through real estate, and it would have never have happened. It never looked like that when I started, though. I wanted to be financially free. And when I started, $1,500 a month, I was financially free. I had a few rental properties paid off, and that was it. But things have changed. Economy's changed. Life changes. Marriage happens. Kids come. Things happen. Expenses go up. So how do you stay motivated? I mean, your dad's pretty well off. You guys are in a great trajectory. You got 41 units, written 2 books. I mean, what are you trying to strive for now? I mean, you've pretty much, the people that I work with, I coach a lot of people around the country. To me, you've arrived. Okay. I mean, my one dream was to live in one house. Okay. I lived in an apartment. I never knew that I would have 500 units. My dream was to write a book. I never knew that I'd write a book. I never knew I'd write several books. All right. So all my dreams are pretty much fulfilled in my world. Now I just get to experience these things I never would have experienced before. What are you striving for? What are you trying to accomplish next? What's on your list?
The next biggest thing I've been working on is to teach as many people as possible. Especially people closer to my age. I really think the more people I can teach and help, the better off the world will be.
That's right.
Every night, my dad tells me before I go to bed, dream about making the world a better place. And in my newest book, The Garage, that's even mentioned, page 30, the picture on there says, every day, make the world a better place.
So what was the inspiration for the book, just to be an author in general, just to tell your story the first time?
The first time, I guess it had always been in the back of my mind, someday I want to write a book. Why? I don't know. It sounded cool. Being an author is a cool thing. And then I was at the Ohio Real Estate Investors Association conference, and there was a guy speaking saying, "Hey, buy my program, and I'll show you how to write a book."
Oh yeah, I remember that guy. He was in the morning.
And so, especially after he said, "And it's half price for anyone under 18." There was 3 people in that audience that it applied to, and me and my brother were 2 of them. So
you bought the course?
Yeah, I bought the course and wrote the book.
And that was your first one?
Yep, that was my first one.
Well, how was that process for you? Was it hard, tough?
It was a little bit tough. It took me almost exactly a year to get it written, edited, published, all the other steps I went through.
Right.
But the books were like getting a shipment of books was literally on order, but not arrived yet. The next Orea.
Cool. So then after you got that book going, and a lot of people don't know, as an author, the work starts when you arrive, right? It's the year of pain of producing the book, writing the book, editing the book, all that jazz that goes into it. Then when it finally arrives, you're so tired. Now you have to really work and promote this thing and tell people that you're an author. People have no idea what it takes to be an author. But then to take on a second book is brain damage. What inspired you for this book, The Garage?
Mark Victor Hansen. So in January of this year, actually, I was at a cocktail party at the Rebel Capitalist Live conference. My parents had gone out to dinner. I decided to take a nap. I was tired for whatever reason, and then went to the cocktail party that night. Decided to give my first book to Mark Victor Hansen because I had heard he's a really famous author and all that. And he was just amazed by me and my story and said, "You got to come write a book with us." And I thought, yeah, that would be cool. Maybe I'll write another book. But especially his partner had called me like a week later when I was at the Mr. Landlord, not conference, blanking on the name, not resort, the vacation one.
The Jamaica, whatever.
Yeah, it was in Cabo.
His retreat. His landlord retreat.
Retreat. That's the name I was looking for. Thank you. But I got a call, and so we started planning out writing a book. Apparently, I'm writing a second book now. When someone who sold over 500 million books asks you to write one or to write another book, the best answer is yes.
Right.
Is really how I thought of that.
Now, this process, the second time, wasn't as labor intensive, right?
Way easier the second time around.
Right.
Like most things, you buy one house, it's an incredibly difficult task. Once you buy your second one, and I'm guessing, although I'm not done with the third, fourth, fifth book, it just gets easier each time.
Speaking back to the houses, so we stopped at unit number 3, the duplex. Where are you now? What's your portfolio mix? Is it single family, mobile homes, duplexes? How do you get to 41 units?
Single family and duplexes. I think I have a couple fourplexes in there.
Okay.
And then my biggest and most creative one is where I bought 20% of a 60-unit building.
Okay. So tell me about your favorite acquisition.
That would be that 20% of a 60-unit.
All right, break it down for me.
I had traded $20 and my depreciation benefits for 20% of a 60-unit.
So the write-off is what you're taking on that 60 units? So what you're saying, the depreciation?
I got the 20% of the 60-unit building, and the other 20%. Guy got depreciation because he paid a lot of taxes, and I don't pay as much. So that
you just split the the depreciation from 80 to 20, that guy gets 80% of the depreciation, probably benefiting him in his tax bracket. You really don't have a tax bracket. I mean, you probably do, but not significant as this other individual. And so would you have to pay for this 20% of the 60 units? And are you just passive in this transaction?
Let's start with what I had to pay. Essentially, I'm going to go into a little bit more story here, so let me tell you a story. The guy had partnered with my mentor, which is actually how I found out about the deal.
Okay.
And he bought the deal for the depreciation and possibly making money in a couple years.
Okay.
But a couple years after they bought the deal, the first guy, the partner, said, I'm not actually going to get any real benefit from this property and might have to put money into it for a while. I just want to keep the tax write-offs, but not have the building. So my mentor, being in a high tax bracket, wasn't really sure he wanted to do the deal, so he came to me, who pays very little in taxes, at least compared to them. Mm-hmm. And said to me, and talked to me, and I figured out a deal, talked to a lawyer and an accountant both to make sure it was legal, where the other guy kept his tax write-offs, kept all his tax write-offs, but I took the building and the risk, and so quite a few years down the road, I will be able to use that benefit, but for a while, that guy gets all the tax benefits from the building dramatically.
So what's the exit strategy? Do you plan on taking over the whole acquisition, like the 80 other, try to go after the 80% that's still left on the table by this other individual? Does he plan on selling it to you for a certain number?
Not as of right now. Right now, I'm just going for this building after it's paid down more, and mainly after it's paid down more, it'll start cash flowing more.
Okay.
If we pay off the mortgage, that will start bringing in a lot more cash flow.
All right. So how do you manage your properties now? Do you have a property manager?
Yes.
Okay. So you pay 10% or a percentage of your gross rents. I guess it makes your life easier. Are you homeschooled? Do you go to school? How are you educated during the regular school season?
I have been homeschooled my whole life, except for I've gone to college the last few years. Just taking classes. Yes.
Are you like this most ambitious little child on the planet? I mean, like what's your goals here? We tried to cover this earlier. What do you want to accomplish? Like if you could do a magic wand here, my name's Deven and I want to accomplish what?
Become an author and teach people the rest of my life.
Well, you're doing it.
Yeah.
So a lot of people take 30 years to figure out what they want to do. And you're fortunate enough to understand, or for this season of your life, that you've made those decisions. What advice would you give someone today that may be struggling in this game of real estate? What advice would you give them, or what have you learned that has propelled you to this stardom?
Really, some of the most basic and easiest things I can say is, first, be creative, and then take action. You can't get anywhere without taking action.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
And if I can do it, so can you.
That's right. That's the book. So let's go into let's go through a life of Deven. Do you write out your goals?
Yes. I write up what I'm going to do each day in my to-do list on my phone, or my calendar. And then for my what I want to do for the year. Every New Year's Eve, we go through and we write our yearly goals. Mm-hmm. And so this year, one of them was buy 4 units. So I bought a 4-plex month and a half ago.
That's awesome, man.
Um,
So do you have a vision board? You know what that is?
Not totally sure what that is.
Okay, a vision board is like you take magazine clippings or you print out certain things and you have a visual aspect of your goals and dreams. So let's just say your dream is to have a specific motorcycle and it's a Honda 650. You would have a picture of that Honda. Like on my vision board, I have a specific RV, a B-class Mercedes RV that I can mountain bike in. So that's on my vision board. What authors do you read, or what philosophers that inspire you besides the Savvy Landlord? Don't.
I also read, really starting to read a lot more Mark Victor Hansen since I'm working with him, and he's got some really good stuff.
Yeah, the magic.
Robert Kiyosaki always has a lot of good books.
Yeah, I saw a picture with you with him.
Yeah. Who else do I really like? Trying to think who else I've read recently. This is more difficult than I expected. I read a lot of newsletters from different people about stocks or crypto.
Oh, so you're into crypto.
And cool. Market. Yeah, I do a little bit with crypto.
All right. Well, Deven, it's been a pleasure just listening to you and your desires and your motivation. I hope that someone would hear this today and they would be inspired. Like, if this dude, 15 years old, has his SHIT together, he's living off of his calendar, he has a to-do list, he needs a vision board, he just figured that out today, that you read daily and that you're motivated, right? So have you ever struggled with motivation or want to give up?
Wanted to give up, not really. I mean, there's been some tough times, but I'm giving up, not quite to that point.
That's awesome.
What was the other question?
No, that was it. I was just like, have you ever had that? I think we're going to follow you to the ends of the earth, man. And, 5 years when you're 20, I'm like, where are you today? I can't wait to see your growth and what you're going to accomplish. I mean, you've fulfilled so many dreams already for so many other people, and you're only 15. I hope that someone will today be like, man, I'm going to write a book. This guy can write 2 books. Yes, you have resources, you have the right people in your world, which is a benefit, and that's through networking. Just like you said earlier, you went to a cocktail party and you bumped into somebody, and that's just success and not luck. And it's preparation for success and putting yourself in those positions what really matters. And I think that you figured that out through your family and your support system around you. Just excited for you and what you're going to do. And I love your heart that you're willing to educate and help people, just like your dad is a trainer, trying to help people to grow their business and their portfolio. So let's recap on your books. So your latest book is called The Garage, 5 Kids. So ladies and gentlemen, go to Amazon, type in The Garage, 5 Kids, 1 Dog, and a Big Dream. Just came out June 2022. So almost a month. It's reasonably priced, $18, $19 to change your life. It's a great book to give to your children, to give to another teenager, inspire them, and to maybe even have a lawn care business. And then his first book, if you're doubting out and you think you can't do this game, you're a liar, because you can. If 7-year-old can do it with some help from some key people, but his book is called If I Can Do It, So Can You, How I Started Real Estate at 7 years old. And his name is Deven. It's spelled uniquely Deven Wohlwend. That's Wohlend. And so is there another way to get a hold of you? Do you have a website or an email, Deven, you would like to share?
I have two ways to look at more stuff I have. I have a new Instagram account. I say new, it's a few weeks old.
Okay, what's that? What's the handle?
It's at Deven, Deven Wohlwend, Wohlwend.
Wohlwend. I'll get it right one day when I see you again. Wohlwend.
It's fine. And then also website Clear Sky, just spelled like the words trainer. ClearSkyTrainer.com.
And you can see you there, and that's where I saw your picture with Robert Kiyosaki. So I went to that.
A lot
website.
of good info on there. It'll also show if I'm speaking in person somewhere. It should probably show up on there.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it was a pleasure. Hopefully that you were encouraged today that anything is possible. Write your goals, make it happen, and life will be grand. Thanks for tuning in to the Savvy Radio Show. Deven, it's been a pleasure. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at savvyradioshow.com. Connect on Twitter at LandlordBook and always be buying assets.